Welcome back to the Blitz Crosstalk. I'm Brianna, joined by my co-host and former NFL scout, Brian brought us. Brian, it is the regular season finale. Got week 18.
You need to play better last week. What were you doing last week?
That we did, yeah.
You know, that's crazy because to me, there was so much on the line. That's right. What I think if you're a Cowboy fan, you're a little bit disappointed with that, I think the second seed, there was so much ahead of you to play for and to go out. And I understand Arizona's a good team, but they're reeling a little bit. There's questions about their coach and his ability to finish the seasons and stuff. It's a little bit disappointing, but, Philadelphia now on the horizon, and we'll see if they can find a way. They still could play. They still could get the second seed if some crazy things happen. Right. They could get the third seed if if you can get a win, a Tampa win, a San Francisco win, and a Seattle win. We'll see what Seattle is going to do, but you're pretty much locked into playing either, I feel like, the Arizona Cardinals or the Rams. So, you could have maybe avoided that little bit of a mess if you'd have just found a way to win and get to the second seed. But here we are. Here we are. So, again, offense. Kind of thought against the the football team. They're going to change.
I do that every time.
They're going to change the name. I promise you, they're going to change the name, not to the Redskins anymore. Yeah. But you kind of felt like that maybe some things offensively were going the right way, and then last week their inability to run the football. We talked about that with Tyron Smith. There's all these things that you kind of just go through. You're thinking, oh, this is going to be positive. This is going to be positive. Right. This is going to be positive. A lot of negative things happen, and I hate to talk about the negative things, but man, there were just way too many in that football game.
Well, and I think too, when you look at this matchup coming up between the Cowboys and Eagles, the Eagles team, they've won 6 of their last 7. This is a team that they have found their identity. They are a run-first team. They have 175 yards in the last 6 games rushing. Yeah. Conversely, the Cowboys, they can't seem to find their identity. They don't know what it is. Offensively, they've been inconsistent up and down all season long. Mike McCarthy has stressed this week that they need to get back to running the football for the betterment of the entire team. But, you look at what they did against Arizona. Tony Pollard and Ezekiel Elliott combined for 25 rushing yards. And I think a lot of it, the positive yards they did have and the positive runs they did have, they were taken back by a penalty up front, but also the holes weren't there. No. The offensive line got beat up front, weren't winning one-on-one matchups. But one of the things I think, too, now credit to Vance Joseph. I think he did a great job using multiple fronts, bringing linebackers, safeties up and then dropping them back, disguising coverages a little bit. And, Dak Prescott, I think, really throughout the course of the game just looked off-kilter, didn't look comfortable in his pre-snap reads. What was kind of your assessment of Dak Prescott's performance?
I'll tell you what, I think you covered a lot of ground, but you covered it the right way. And you do give Vance Joseph credit. Teams have figured out that they don't have to respect Dallas's run. They just don't. Yep. And what happens then when you don't respect somebody's run is that, listen, if you can't run the ball, we just don't have to play. We don't have to commit guys. We don't have to play. If we're going to win stuff one-on-one at the line of scrimmage, at the second level with the linebackers, no sense of bringing a safety down. We'll play too deep. CeeDee Lamb talked about it. He talked about the bell coverage and stuff like that. 4 back, all this stuff like that. And, we could talk about what a coverage they call robber, where they bring the safety down and put him in the middle of the field. And that takes away the crossers and stuff like that, where CD and those guys make a lot of big plays. Dalton Schultz. I was talking about Blake Jarwin earlier with somebody in the day, but that happens. And when they don't respect your run, they can just play coverage. And really what they're doing is nobody works harder, I believe, than Dak Prescott on trying to get ready for the game plan. Nobody works harder. Seriously. The prep and stuff. Because all these years, Dak Prescott has been told he can't do it. You're not a good enough thrower. You're not a good enough leader. He's always heard, even you go back to Dan Mullen, his coach at Mississippi State, recruiting him. It's like, I didn't think he could throw the ball. I didn't think, there was all these doubts that you have. So he works really hard to prep for these games. But what's happening is that he's checking things. He's seeing things. He thinks he's seeing it the right way. He might not be seeing it the right way. He drops back. They make a check. Oh, no, it's not what I saw. And now all that sets in. And what I've learned about Dak over the years is Dak really doesn't throw guys open. And I mean open like anticipation throws where you say, oh, okay. And again, I'm comparing him to a guy like an Aaron Rodgers, but that's the elite type quarterbacks we're talking. And Aaron Rodgers is before the guy breaks, there goes the ball. Yeah. And then the receiver runs. I mean, to me, this is a little bit on Kellen Moore as well. I mean, you could blame Dak Prescott for a lot of things that are going on here. But Kellen Moore and Mike McCarthy and Nussmeier and McAdoo to a point have got to help him out. And they got the receivers all week. You've been covering the team all week long. What are they saying? Communication. Now you got the general manager coming out and saying it's the routes.
Running, yeah.
This is the first time, and then you get Amari Cooper talking about other things too. And this is the first time all year that I think that the offensive players are getting tired of your questions. And they're
100%. They're getting frustrated.
And they're getting tired of my questions too. And I think that's the thing that when you talk about Dak Prescott, we can put it on him because he is the quarterback. But to him, you also have to say, well, what is Kellen Moore doing? I think, honestly, Bree, and I don't know if I've said this on our broadcast here, our show, I think this is you're paying for the sins of a third-year offensive coordinator right now. I do. I think that, to me, the lack of experience is hurting Kellen Moore. And I don't know why, and maybe there is an explanation, but I don't know why all those coaches I named, McCarthy, primary play caller for 12, 13 years. Nussmeier, college play caller. Ben McAdoo. Ben McAdoo doesn't have a title. But Jerry Jones mentions him on our show. Oh, we've Ben McAdoo. And you're like, oh, Ben McAdoo's coaching now. Okay. These guys are primary play callers. They've got to find ways. I mean, this can't be as simple as, oh, they're playing shell coverage. And, there has to be answers. There has to be. This talent is too good not to be thriving when people do stuff.
And week after week, there's no results. We talk about the same thing every week. And I think that's why the players are getting so frustrated
too. They are frustrated, yeah. You're absolutely right. It's crazy that it's crazy you have all this talent, this offensive line, and again, I think it goes back to running the football, the inability to win up front, but it's making life for Dak really difficult. And I don't think the OC has a real answer for why. And I think he kind of, they're doing this to us. But you and I come on, it's the same thing
over and over
every week. And something has got to give there. And hopefully it's not give as in a first round get knocked out of the playoffs. Because if that happens, then those questions become more, they carry barbs. They're a little bit more pointed of like, well, okay, you knew you couldn't do this. You knew you couldn't do this. Why did you not adjust? As Dak Prescott yesterday, he had nothing. He wanted nothing to do with your,
short.
He wanted nothing to do with your question about And I say I say in the media. Yeah. He wanted nothing to do about him reading coverages or reading. He's like, you all say this. Okay. Then what's the problem?
Yeah.
Then what's the problem? Are you not seeing the field well enough? And again, I'm not here to point fingers at Dak because the minute you point a finger at Dak, you can point it at Kellen Moore. You can point it at Mike McCarthy. Right. You can point it at Doug Nussmeier. You can point it at the offensive line and Joe Philbin. There's a lot of things going on right now that aren't too positive about this offense.
Well, and I think it's one of my biggest takeaways, I think, from that Arizona game. And I think it's interesting that you mentioned Kellen Moore was the batted passes.
4 of them.
So, yeah. And to me, that goes back to Arizona's film study, their anticipation. They knew exactly what was coming, what was going to be called, what the Cowboys do in certain down and distance situations, whether it was screen, the outbreaking routes. I mean, they were on top of all of them. And I think that goes back to coaching.
I think you're absolutely right. And to me, when they ran that screenplay, Buda Baker, I mean, literally almost picked off the pass. And that's a play that they ran. I think it was the first or second play against Atlanta. So here they go back to a play where they put McGovern out there as a blocker, and it was a CeeDee Lamb play that went for 20-something yards. Ends up being almost a pick six going the other way. And so again, that's Kellen Moore. I'm not coming on here, and I don't think you are either. I'm just trying to point out things. And again, it's one of those things where the negativity and all. That's not my plan. I don't think that's your plan either. But you can't just put your head in the sand and say, I mean, the idea is to go and look for answers. What are the answers? And if Kellen Moore and Mike McCarthy and all these offensive minds over across the street at the Star can't figure it out, that's disappointing to me. It should be disappointing to you as a Cowboy fan that these coaches, Dan Quinn and these guys, have figured out things on defense. Defense has gotten better. I mean, defense had a rough go at it. Couldn't get off the field the other day. Kyler Murray, it's just playing him. Playing him's a nightmare. No, it's a nightmare. And what you've done is, though, by losing this game, you've given Arizona, and again, I'm trying not to harp, but I am, you've given Arizona hope that if they come back here and play, Cliff Kingsbury says it after the game. He goes, man, I hope we don't have to play Dallas again.
Because it's hard to beat a team twice.
Well, in reality, what he's saying is, I'm telling you in the media out there that we don't want to play these guys again. What he's telling his team is, we will come back here and kick their ass again, if we have to. You gave them confidence to come in. They're 8-1 on the road. I mean, that's a good football team playing on the road. They got a quarterback that doesn't lose at your stadium. And he walks in that building, he's like, I've done this before. So, I mean, there's so many things. I was just so hopeful that they were going to find a way to finish these last two games out against playoff teams. Arizona, Philadelphia. Get 2 wins, go into the playoffs, and have that confidence that whoever we play in the playoffs, things will work out. I don't think it's as simple as flip a switch, Bree, because if it was that simple, they'd have done it by now.
Well, in just that the offense can finally be what it was at the beginning of the season to complement the defense. Because, I mean, in years past, the defense was one of the things that kept this team out from going far in the playoffs. Now you have that element. You have that with Dan Quinn's defense. You've got Micah Parsons, Randy Gregory, DeMarcus Lawrence.
There's positivity.
You have the talent on this team.
Right.
But then we're sitting here in week 18 and we're still talking about the offensive identity and the inability to run the football.
Well, throw special teams in there too because they faked a punt on you and you had a missed field goal. And by the way, this was the first time that I felt, and yesterday they were a little bit more complimentary of the field goal kicker, but early in the week, post game, Mike McCarthy said these are playoff games. These are playoff games. You can't miss kicks. We know that. Jerry Jones coming out. This is the first time, I think, all season long that we've heard they're usually very protective of the kicker. This time I didn't get that sense that they were protective of this guy. I kind of got
sure did not from Jerry
Jones. No. Yeah, I didn't get that. But again, fake punt, missed field goal. These are big plays. And you just can't have that happen against teams that are, especially as close as these games are. Points are points. He's not kicking a 63-yard field goal. He's kicking a 43-yard field goal. But he's missed like 5 extra points too. That's 33 yards. That's a 33-yard field goal.
40 plus, his numbers go down drastically.
It's crazy. It's
from
crazy.
20 to 30.
I just hope, to be honest with you, I hope it doesn't come down to that having to. Now, he's made game-winning kicks. He's done that. Congratulations. But, he's also, there's that side of me that when they go out there and kick field goals or kick extra points now, I watch. I watch. It used to be, I don't watch. It's like, oh no, it's going to put down my 7 and move to the next thing. But no, it's, hopefully that's the thing that doesn't get them. But you're right. The positivity has been about the defense. The positivity has been about Dan Quinn. We'll see what happens this week. No Micah Parsons because of the COVID protocol stuff. So that will be interesting. Jaron Curse, I don't think is going to play with the hamstring problem. So yeah, they're going to be down a couple of their key defensive players.
Well, and the Eagles, they had 12 players put on the COVID list on Monday. Now, Nick Sirianni hasn't said whether or not they're going to rest starters or not, still making that determination. Yeah. But when you look at Jalen Hurts, how does he compare? How would you characterize his running style in reference to Kyler Murray?
Yeah, that's really Kyler is a smaller, quicker.
Okay.
But what you have with Hurts is also that slippery type of a player. You watch, they're really, really committed to running the football.
I mean, and they're committed.
That they are.
They're committed.
The RPO.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing about it is they figured out offensively not to make Jalen Hurts have to play in these games. Kyler Murray can throw the football. I think Jalen Hurts struggles to throw the football. When the Cowboys played in Week 3. Offensively, Cowboys were rolling right along. It was a beautiful game to watch, the way they ran the ball, Dak and stuff like that. They played great defense in that game. I felt like, with Jalen and not allowing him to bust loose. They made him throw the ball. They put pressure on him. They made him run around. Now it's a little bit more about, the RPO stuff slows the defense down. You can't get up the field. You can't rush. You can't do the things, and they're committed. Their offensive line has done a great job up front. It's a big line at certain spots. It's athletic at center. The center, Jason Kelsey is in the protocol stuff right now. We'll see what happens. They might have to do some shuffling around with their offensive line this week. But, man, it is a group that, like I say, with Hurts, it's the read, it's the handoff, or it's the read and pull, and all of a sudden you're committing to the run, and then all of a sudden he's coming out the back door running the football. And I think I think Hurts is a little bit more committed to running. I think Kyler wants to throw the ball more.
An extension of the pass.
Yeah, and now Hurts is a little bit more like, okay, I get it. If I don't have to throw the ball all the time, we can still win these games. And I think they're committed to doing that.
Well, I think when you look at the Eagles, too, you're seeing a lot of the elements that you wish this Cowboys offense or you thought this Cowboys offense would have going throughout the season. And I think Dak really thrives with, play action and RPOs. But when you don't have the run game, that stifles a lot of the things that I think this offense has been based on for so many years. And I think a lot of it starts with that offensive line. And the group that I think coming into the season was what a lot of people were excited about. One of the groups that was the most hyped, getting that front wall back, getting everybody, and then from start to finish, it hasn't lived up to expectations.
Yeah, and we'll see what happens this week. I was talking to some folks over here about Tyron Smith, and I was saying, hey, do you rest Tyron Smith? And they were like, no, Tyron Smith needs to play. Yeah. Tyron Smith didn't play well enough last week. I mean, as a line, they didn't play well enough. And that's the thing that I think is troubling right now, Bree, is that you get these guys back. It's the 5 starters, the first time they've played together all year.
And there's no change.
And then you get dominated at the line of scrimmage. You can't run the football. You didn't protect particularly well in some areas. And you still had penalties, So, yeah, it was a very sloppy performance from the offensive line. What we thought was the strength coming into this season has really become one of the things where you and I, when we do these podcasts, we tend to have the most questions. What's going to happen with the offensive line? What's going to happen with the right tackle? What's going to happen with the left tackle? What's going to happen at guard? It always seems like there's something that you and I are talking about in these situations.
Yeah. Well, hopefully we can get things rolling. Week 18 offensively heading into the postseason.
Yeah, it would be nice to see the ability. The Cowboys in Week 3, and they had Terrence Steele at right tackle, but they had Jarwin and Schultz, and they had some creative ways of running the ball. Use some sprint draw stuff. They let the Eagles come up the field, run the draw. There was really did a great job of attacking the Eagles front. Let's see if they can attack the Eagles front. I think, to me personally, go and find a way to find that balance. Be committed to it. Make it work. Win this football game and see what happens on Sunday. See if somehow, hey, San Francisco owns the Rams when they play. You never know what's going to happen. Arizona coming off a big victory against the Cowboys could lose the game to Seattle. You never know. So go play, go win, and then see what happens on Sunday. NFL, I would say this is a strange lady. It really is. And
that it is.
And you never know. I mean, you might wake up and you're like, wow, we're the 3rd seed, or wow, we're the 2nd seed, because you just don't know. And the only way to take care of that is if you go win. And I applaud the Cowboys for saying, hey, let's go win. Yeah. Because they need they don't need you and I coming back here the next week talking about a Eagle team that didn't have all their players and they beat a Cowboy team trying to win a game. They do that, then you and I are not going to be too excited about the Cardinals or the Rams or the 49ers who come in here and play the Cowboys the following week. Just not. I mean, you can't just kind of limp into this thing.
I think.
You can't limp into this thing. You can't just, against good teams not play well. They need to have, the quality wins we talk about. New Orleans at the time, they didn't have their quarterback, but going to New Orleans, I think, is a good quality win. New England, Chargers. If you beat the Eagles, you're 6-0 versus the division. Your final record is 6-5. So is that right? 12-5. 12-5. Yeah, it's so that's let's get that right. We're 11 and they're 11. Yeah. So I'm saying you don't want to lose this game and be like 11-6. You just really don't. You want to
against the decimated.
I knew I was going to get the math right or wrong some way down there. But yeah, I was thinking, you were looking at me like, what are you talking about? But yeah, I just like I said, we're
not numbers people.
No, exactly. But yeah, I just kind of feel like though that it needs to be, you need to get a little momentum. You need to feel a little bit better about yourselves. I don't care if it's a decimated Eagles team. Going and winning a division game in Philadelphia would be a big thing.
Mm-hmm. Regaining that offensive identity heading into
something. I don't need to talk about an offensive line that doesn't run the ball and doesn't, because if that's the case, then your fear of being one and done is reality.
Yes.
Is reality.
Well, we will see, and there will be more of the Blitz Crosstalk next week.
That was a nice negative show, wasn't it? Shouldn't be that way.
At this point, hey, with the
I'm
offense,
sorry,
the way
folks.
things are going,
She's positive. She's a positive. I'm old and not positive.
The video will be up on YouTube. Stay tuned next week. Thanks for joining the Blitz Crosstalk.